Hi, my name is Ross Riddleston. Welcome to this Anson McCade Future series of webinars and podcasts. Today, with the help of some industry experts, we're going to be shining some light on the future of technology and business, with particular focus on diversity, skills, and working practices. Hi, Daragh. Thanks for joining us.
Morning. No problem.
Well, I suppose just to get straight into things, today you're going to be speaking to us about employee collaboration and Enablo. So, Daragh, I suppose to start with, it'd be good to get an introduction about yourself, and after that, I'll talk about a bit more about Enablo and workplace.
Sure. No, thank you, and thank you for the opportunity to speak today. By way of a really quick intro and background to who we are here at Enablo and how we got started, I guess, which is an important part of understanding what it is that we do. Myself and my two co-workers and co-founders, Dave Nixon and Mark Wyman, we spent most of the last 10 years working in the enterprise communication and collaboration space. Specifically, we've been helping organizations right across Australia, New Zealand, and further afield adopt and embrace Google's set of collaboration tools. And we really believe in that model of bringing consumer-based communication platforms into the enterprise. And in all the years that we were working with helping sell and deliver and implement Google Apps and what's now G Suite, we saw how much tools like Gmail and Google Drive and Calendar and so on could transform the way that people were being productive and collaborative in the enterprise. But the one thing that we heard all along was, we'd really love to see a product like Facebook for Work, because that was the social fabric that people had in their personal lives, and organizations, our customers, were really interested in seeing something like that in the business. About 2 years ago, we saw Facebook starting to make some noise around a product that they called Facebook for Work, and that really started to interest and excite Dave, Mark, and I. We kind of saw that as the holy grail. That's what every one of our customers in our previous life were asking for. And so we started to knock together some ideas and think about what Enablo could be, and looked to partner up with Facebook. And it's really where we got to and where we are today. So in April of 2017, Enablo was born as a pure play Workplace by Facebook partner. So Facebook for Work was rebranded to Workplace. And that's what we do. We're here to help organizations adopt and launch Workplace by Facebook.
So Workplace by Facebook, I'm an avid Facebook user, and I must admit I'd heard the name, but I don't know anything about it. Is it kind of a best kept secret by Facebook, or is it in its infancy?
It's definitely a new product, new platform for Facebook. So, we all know and love the tools from Facebook in our consumer life. Facebook itself as a platform, Instagram, WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger. These are all platforms that have been around for many, many years and have billions of users. If we look to Workplace, it's officially been around since October 2016 was when it was launched. And at Facebook scale is still very much a startup within the organization, but is a platform that is rapidly growing, has had massive uptake and adoption right across our home patch here in Australia and New Zealand, but indeed right around the world. It's definitely a platform that's being very widely adopted, but you're right. The journey's only getting started. There's just over 30,000 organizations around the world that are now using Workplace on a day-to-day basis.
So how would Workplace and similar tools enable better collaboration in the workplace?
Yeah, I mean, I think if we look to how we all use Facebook in our personal lives, we're using it on our mobile devices. If we look to Australia, close to 90% of the adult population of Australia is using Facebook on a daily basis, and the average usage time is about an hour and 30 minutes per day that we're sitting and staring at Facebook in our personal life. We then look at the tools that we come into and use in work for collaboration. They're quite often clunky and perhaps don't have a brilliant mobile experience, and so we already see that bringing that consumer-based platform that we're all used to using and using for a very significant portion of our day for staying in touch with friends and family and for our entertainment and news sources. Having that same platform and familiarity in the enterprise is really transforming how we consume and consume information and collaborate at work.
Now that obviously sounds positive. Any more collaboration is going to be good, but I mean, if you spoke to my boss, for example, who didn't grow up with Facebook, he sees it as the antithesis of productivity and collaboration. I mean, do you see much? Do you see companies kind of saying, "Hang on a minute, people are busy being social, not working"? And
we don't see that. I mean, look, at the end of the day, human beings are social creatures. We don't just come to work to get paid money and to get work done. We come to work to make connections and meet new people and have a social outlet. So if I sit and look at the amazing office that's behind you, your boss is spending a lot of money on a very cool and funky and collaborative workplace where they're facilitating, the bumping in of people, the ability to sit at the bar behind you and have a coffee and just discuss work things, but also build that close personal connection and relationship. That's important to us as humans. So having a platform that, again, facilitates that open working in a familiar way, but also allows us to be social and to use familiar tools to act socially and in a friendly manner with our coworkers is important. There's a right balance, I believe, to set on that. We really strive for, when we're helping companies launch Workplace, to educate them that if they have about 70% of the conversation that's happening on Workplace to be work related, about 30% of it can be social. And we're asking and expecting people in today's workforce to go home and work at night for 2 or 3 hours and answer emails or work on documents and do that whilst they're sitting on their sofa or do that whilst they're commuting. Some of the give back needs to be we're comfortable with embracing the true social fabric that exists in an organization.
Yeah,
we do that in a controlled manner, though. I mean, we really think you don't want in your sales team group, for example, in Workplace, you don't want to be sharing pictures of the kids or the dogs or the holiday, but you want work to be happening in the sales team group. But you can, by all means, go and create a mother's group or a dog lovers group and allow people who are interested in those social topics to go and share information and their stories in there.
So is there a separation between someone's Facebook profile then and the workplace environment?
Absolutely, complete separation. So an important point is you do not need to be a Facebook user in order to use Workplace in your office or for your company. And very deliberately so. I mean, we many times we like to go home and switch off and not have to work. And there's quite often pressure if this was to happen in our consumer profile, and if my boss was to be sending me messages and I could see that I was actively doing what I do in my spare time and being social on Facebook, and send me a message, I'm kind of actively ignoring them if I choose to not answer that message at 9 o'clock at night. So by having two completely separate profiles, you are very much separating that work and personal life.
Yeah. Now, sort of just talking more about, I suppose, collaboration in general as a wider topic. I mean, I've used and in my industry, it's probably more for gossip and pushing people and sharing documents. But I use Slack, I'm aware of Yammer,
yep.
And a few other tools in the market. Now, this might be my Luddite kind of view on things, but I almost see it as an addition to the Microsoft or the G Suite kind of tool set around email and the I forget the other platforms, but I almost see it as a kind of just a way to chat to people. And I'd also, from a recruitment perspective, I kind of see these tools as something that's really positive for collaboration in creative environments like digital agencies, people doing design, developers, where they're sharing assets within the business. But is that the kind of main audience, or is there wider scope for productivity and collaboration?
No, I mean, productivity and collaboration should happen right across the organization. What we really believe in is creating a very open and collaborative and approachable solution and place for people to go. In relation specifically to other platforms like Slack and Yammer and Teams and so on, I mean, our view is where we can, and this is both a shared Enablo and Facebook view, we want to work better together. We really believe that, I think the world recognizes the true power and reach of Facebook as a platform with over 2.2 billion users of Facebook around the world. It is what we are, for the most part, in the connected world familiar with. So having that as kind of the central fabric for where you go to get work done and communicate in your organization, but then having integrations into things like SharePoint, for example, so that from within my workplace environment or my chat environment inside of Workplace, I can go and query and look up a file or a document in SharePoint and have that retrieved on my interface. Also being able to do that with a really awesome mobile experience. Quite often we find with some of the incumbent players in the collaboration space, if we can call it that, in the enterprise, they're great desktop tools, but you go out into the mobile world where people are increasingly working, and we're fortunate to live in a country with the second highest smartphone penetration in the world. We are all looking to work on our mobile devices on a day-to-day basis, but quite often VPNs and firewalls and just interfaces don't facilitate that mobile working. So our view is let's work better together. Let's look to integrate. I mean, you work specifically in recruitment. We now have a number of integrations from Workplace directly into many of the tools and platforms that you're using day to day as a recruiter, and they're surfaced seamlessly inside of Workplace.
So, looking at sort of larger environments, I mean, what type of industry sectors could this work in? Is it cross industry?
It is. I mean, we were surprised when Dave, Mark, and I were sitting down and writing our business plan for Enablo at the beginning of last year. We had some sweet spot verticals that we thought were going to be super successful for us. If you look to Facebook's mission of trying to connect the world, you would think that organizations that typically have a disconnected or remote workforce, so think transport and logistics companies, think retailers, think travel companies and airlines. They typically don't have a large portion of their employee base using any form of collaboration tool inside the business. We really thought they would be sweet spots for us, and they have been. We've got a large number of retailers here in Australia and across the ditch in New Zealand. Facebook themselves globally have the world's #1 employer at Walmart with 2.2 million employees using Workplace to communicate and collaborate for the first time. So certainly retail has been exceptionally strong, but we've also seen massive uptake in industries where we didn't expect it. Public sector has been huge for us across Australia and New Zealand, and indeed further afield. We look to Singapore. The entire government of Singapore have adopted Workplace as their collaboration and communications platform. So public sector has definitely been a surprise. And financial services has, again, you think heavily regulated organizations that are typically viewed as being reasonably slow to adopt and embrace new technologies. And if we look across the FSI landscape here in Australia, we've got organizations like Macquarie Bank and AMP all adopting Workplace, and lots of other very positive conversations and projects happening right across the board in financial services. So that's kind of my way of saying that there's no real sweet spot. This is a platform that is being taken up and embraced by pretty much everybody across the board, and in organizations from hyperscale like Walmart with their 2.2 million employees, right the way through to small businesses. I think Enablo's smallest customer has got about 7 employees. So we see a broad smattering of organizations and sizes.
Yeah. I mean, the retail piece is quite interesting for me. I mean, beyond the other ones you mentioned, get to those in a second, because I suppose in some ways that's it, giving every employee some kind of access to IT. The IT implementation, because
right.
I don't see people on the shop floor walking around with computers and bits and pieces. I suppose it's an easy and probably cost-effective way to get them connected.
Yeah, and I think most importantly, it's not just giving them access to IT, but it's giving them a voice. I mean, if you think of a retail organization, and we look at many of the largest retailers here in Australia, the senior executives and leadership teams in those organizations all started out working on the shop floor, packing shelves, and they started doing that as 14-year-old kids, and they've now graduated to running the businesses. Also, if you think of organizations with tens or hundreds of thousands of employees out in the retail shop floor, they're the ones interacting with the customers. They're the guys responsible for generating the revenue. Giving them a voice, allowing them to be able to share their knowledge of dealing with customers both across the organization and across the country, as well as filter that up to the leadership teams and the store management teams is super valuable. So we're not just allowing them access to IT, but we're very much giving them a voice and the ability to have their success stories elevated up to visibility at a central level.
Right. And going on to, well, it probably is relevant for government and financial services, the two areas you said there as well. You mentioned it, regulatory issues and governance, mm-hmm. and lots of red tape, I'd imagine, in public services. How do companies get around that? Is it just because everyone's already got on Facebook, so that you can just kind of create collaboration through the back door almost because they're already using it? Or
no, I mean we very much there's temptation to go in via the back door and just make this go viral and go nuts across the organization. That would be a successful strategy to a point, but at some point you're always going to come up against the and appropriately so, come up against the risk and security and IT departments in an organization. So we don't believe in going in through stealth and trying to do a shadow IT deployment. We have been successful in those industries, I think, for really 2 reasons. One, the Facebook security story is exceptionally strong. They own and operate all of their own infrastructure around the world, and when you dig down into that, which is the second part of the story, when you dig into that, Facebook are extremely open with sharing information and connecting the appropriate resources to answer the most difficult and detailed questions that a prospective customer might have. Yes, that will all be done under NDA, of course, but there's really no question that we have had a customer ask that Facebook's been unwilling to address and show the detail behind their security story. And then we'll do things like make available penetration testing, will allow customers to run their own penetration testing and so on as well. So I think it's a nice testament to the strength of Facebook's security story. I heard earlier this week from the CIO at Macquarie Bank. So again, in financial services, we all know Macquarie as being a very fast-moving, very innovative and intelligent, but very, very risk-averse organization. And he gave a glowing report to about 70 customers in a room the other day about just how secure Facebook was, and he shared some of the insights into Macquarie's security journey with Facebook, and they really gave it a good going over, and they could find no reason why they couldn't have all of their executives, 15,000 Macquarie employees around the world, and dealing with things like their own internal barriers to information sharing and so on. Could see no reason why they couldn't fully embrace Workplace for all of their employees.
That's quite interesting, actually, because I mean, I've worked a lot and actually haven't spoken to a couple of people around cloud services and the kind of transformation that's enabling. But banks are traditionally companies that they're late to adopt cloud. There's a lot around hybrid cloud strategies just because the security on site. So it's interesting to see that something like this.
Yeah, look, I think with cloud in general, whether that's with Facebook or any of the other major SaaS or cloud providers as a whole, you need to look at your own internal risk profiling as an organization. You need to understand what content is and is not appropriate for you to share, be beyond the four walls, be they virtual or real walls of your organization. And really have your data classification policy stand up to how you are sharing that information. So, I think taking that responsibility for yourself as an organization, and then trusting the cloud provider that you choose to partner with, those two things need to go hand in hand.
So, are there controls then within Workplace that enable restrictions on sharing of things? And is that something that Enablo do in terms of your services?
Yeah, correct. So on the platform itself, there's absolutely some control around the types of groups that can be created and who can join those groups. And so if we think of, just to clarify that point, if we think of the kind of the core of Workplace, it's about bringing people together in groups. So there's team groups, there's discipline groups, there might be office groups. So for example, the Brisbane office might have a group for sharing of information. So groups are really the fabric of where you go to collaborate in Workplace. We then have the ability to control who can join those groups, how they join those groups, who can post into those groups, for example. That's all out of the box functionality from Facebook in the platform. We then look to specifically what we do here at Enablo to help some of our customers who are regulated and who have need for enforcing compliance across their employee base. We really see two key ways that we're helping to address that. One is we've got the ability to build an archiving and discovery framework where we extract a copy of the data that's being shared on Workplace out of the customer's Workplace environment, and then go and store it in their own infrastructure or their own secure cloud provider, trusted cloud provider. So what that's allowing them to do is, one, satisfy potentially some regulatory requirements to say that, well, we have a copy of our own data stored outside of Facebook and stored in our infrastructure. And two, it's allowing them to do some discovery across it to make sure that people aren't doing or sharing inappropriate things. We've also partnered with an amazing organization called Netscope, who are providing their cloud access security broker. They don't just partner with Facebook. They have solutions for many of the leading cloud services. And Netscope allows you to go in and set up some rules around content that can and can't be shared. For example, they can monitor for people sharing credit card information inside of Workplace, and then kind of proactively reach in, and if someone shares content that contains a credit card number, they can go in and retract that post and delete it, or they can go and notify an administrator based on the fact that sharing event had happened.
So I suppose on that, that's quite an interesting point around security. I was going to ask you about, you've kind of answered the question around data and security. You said Facebook are very good at being open. Mm-hmm. Recently in the news, they've been a bit too open, perhaps, with sharing data and trust, with Cambridge Analytica and the like. Has that damaged their reputation from this perspective? And is it a genuine reason for concern?
Look, I think to maybe take that question in two ways. One, to look at the consumer side where the news around Cambridge was applicable, and then to look at the workplace side of things where we operate. On the consumer side of things, if we look to very briefly what happened, we had an organization that very validly extracted data that we as consumers of Facebook had agreed to share, and it was all catered for in the enterprise or in the terms of service that we click through and accept. And to be fair, none of us ever read them. We want to get on the platform and we want to use it. We we want to have access to awesome technology. So by doing so, we agreed to a sharing policy that was completely valid at the time, and Cambridge Analytica were able to access that data and use it. We'll kind of park what then transpired with them saying they had deleted it and how the data was being used. But I think it's important to understand that, in effect, we are the product as consumers. We click through and we sign up, and we allow people to target games at us, and we allow people to target advertising at us based on information that we willingly share. If we then move that over into the enterprise context with workplace, there's a couple of key things to understand about workplace itself and what the relationship you have with Facebook as a workplace customer. One, you're paying for the product. It is an enterprise paid software as a service offering. So you are no longer the product, and the platform itself is the product. You pay for that. In paying for that, you get a very strong legal enterprise agreement with Facebook, which governs what they can and can't do with your data, and most importantly, governs the ownership of that data. So you, as a paid workplace customer, own all of the data that you upload and create and share inside of the workplace environment. That's very different to what we sign up to in our consumer life with Facebook. And that basically means that they are very limited in what they can do in terms of looking at that data. They're simply hosting it and processing it on your behalf. If an authority comes knocking on the door and saying, "Hey, we'd love to go and see the Enablo data," they're duty bound by contract. That they can't just hand over our data. They literally send the request our way and say, "You need to go talk to the guys who own it." So there's very, very strong agreements around that. And then I think finally there's some perhaps misconception around just what happened with Facebook around Cambridge. There was no hack. Facebook wasn't breached. Their security policies weren't breached. The data centers weren't breached. It was a valid use of that data. So, our customers, again, the sensitive ones in particular, the public sector organizations, the financial services and regulated entities, they very quickly understood the difference between the consumer and enterprise contract.
Yeah,
they were very much, their minds were put at ease that Facebook wasn't hacked, that it was a valid extraction of data, and that's kind of the good news story for us, that there hasn't been any disruption to service.
So what's next for Workplace then? I mean, it's an internal tool essentially at the moment. Will that turn into something that's B2C or B2B, business to business, business to customer, and open up? Should Microsoft be looking over their shoulder with and G Suite and all that kind of stuff?
No, great question. Workplace was born very much as an internal collaboration tool. If we look back to how it started, it was due to have Facebook started using the Facebook platform themselves back in 2011 when the Groups product was released into consumer Facebook, and they started using Groups for internal communication and collaboration. So it very much was born as an internal collaboration tool for Facebook. They obviously then opened that up to the world to use it as an internal collaboration tool. That's really the primary use case for Workplace today. In terms of then moving into B2B world, several months ago, Facebook opened up what we call multi-company groups, so that I, as an employee of Enablo, can go and interact with an employee of another organization which uses Workplace, and we can come together in a group that contains our two companies. So it's really good for how we as Enablo interact with all of our customers. We go and create a group that the contacts and peers from our customers that we engage with, we come together and we collaborate on the tool that we're actually using all day, every day for our own internal communications. So that's really good in a supplier customer context in B2B. It's also really good for bringing together multiple companies. So, for example, we have there has been created an ANZ-wide workplace administrator community. There's about 500 companies across Australia and New Zealand who are all using Workplace, and they come together to swap and share information. And there's questions about, hey, we're thinking about doing this. How have you addressed that problem? So there's some amazing multi-company collaboration happening there. The B2C context, that's not really one that is being fully utilized right now. One question we hear quite often is, can we manage our company Facebook page from inside of our workplace environment as opposed to using a personal Facebook account? There are things that are actively being considered in how we would address them, both here at Enablo and inside the workplace team. But for now, we're very much focused on that internal collaboration piece and on the B2B collaboration. In terms of should Microsoft and G Suite, Google and other providers be concerned? Excuse me, I really don't think so. I mean, our view is we all work better together. Yes, of course, there's overlap with certain features and functionality, but if you look at when Workplace was launched, there was integrations with Google Drive and OneDrive out of the box. There's integrations with Salesforce, with Jira, with ServiceNow, with SharePoint. I mean, the tools that most organizations are using day to day, those integrations now exist. We're not here to say, let's go and push Microsoft or Google out of the enterprise. We're saying, let's give you the social fabric that you use in your personal life and then bring everything else together around that.
Okay. Well, two more questions. I suppose, I mean, it's quite obvious that there's going to be more collaboration in the future. I mean, we've covered a lot of those topics, but do you see anything in technology that's coming out or trends that's going to change things significantly in terms of productivity going forward? Yeah,
look, I mean, I think it's here and it's real, but it's an evolving story. The mobile story, the fact that we on a day-to-day basis, I use about 6 different devices day to day. I've got a desktop, I've got a laptop, I've got a phone, I've got a tablet. The ability to be as productive regardless of what device I'm using or what interface I'm using, whether it's Windows or Android or iOS or Mac, which I use in my day-to-day life. That story has been here and has been real for several years, the shift to mobile. But we still see many enterprise tools and platforms still not being available easily on a mobile device. So I think we're going to continue to see organizations push for that true mobile experience. That's one. I think the second thing that is, I look to particularly problems that Facebook can help solve in the enterprise. Something we all do every day in our work life is things like this. We do video calling, but it is still a reasonably clunky experience for most companies. If we look at in our personal life, we use iMessage, we use WhatsApp, we use Facebook Messenger. We've got an amazing video experience in our consumer life, in our personal life, but we probably only make 1 to 2 video calls per month to friends and family. And then we come into the workplace and we probably make 6 or 7 per day, and they start late and the video breaks down and they're clunky to get at, and the mobile experience is typically pretty poor. If I think of a problem that still needs to be resolved, it's definitely going to be around video. And then if I put on my really get to the future view, and there's a number of players in this market, and Facebook's certainly a leader as well, but the whole concept of virtual and augmented reality and the impact that that's going to have on the enterprise. I'm still thinking we're 4 or 5 years away from really true, really simple enterprise use cases, but to have me sitting in a room like this that's got video cameras all around, and to have you sitting in the same room down in Sydney, and for it very much to feel like we're sitting there side by side and in a full 3D context, as opposed to just seeing, you seeing my bobblehead and me seeing yours. I think that's where the world's going to go over the next 5 or so years. That's going to be a truly magical meeting room experience that will absolutely help us eliminate a very large amount of domestic and international travel.
Well, if that does come through, I mean, one of the big things about collaboration we haven't really touched upon is there's a big argument, with things like flexible working coming in around, the ability to be creative and get things done in a traditional team environment if people aren't in the same room. So obviously this kind of technology is going to help with that. But if it matures into that, then that's going to be those kind of questions hopefully solved.
Yeah, for sure. I couldn't agree more.
Great. I've kept you talking, Daragh. It's really an interesting insight. One thing I haven't asked, I mean, just in terms of Enablo, what services do you offer in a nutshell around this? It'd be good to just quickly get
thank you. Probably a good place to wrap up. So as I said from the outset, we are a pure play workplace by Facebook partner. So we're kind of uniquely positioned in that this is all that we do all day, every day. We've helped well over 50 companies, ranging from the small organizations that I spoke about through to well over 100,000 users launch Workplace in the last year and a half that we've been in operation. We really serve. There's three pillars to our business. One is providing professional services and launch and enablement services for organizations that want to deploy Workplace. So that ranges from the kind of pre-planning, pre-launch stage through to running a launch and enablement project. And then post-launch, ensuring that there's an ongoing engagement so that we can help our customers reach that goal of every single person in the organization using Workplace on a daily basis. So that's kind of the services side of our business. We also have a very strong engineering and software development capability. So we are building digital assistants and chatbots and integrations for Workplace, as well as enhancing the overall management experience for a Workplace administrator through a series of tools and services that really make their life easier in terms of managing a large community of people. And then the final piece is we are also a reseller of Workplace. So we look to have an ongoing engagement with our customers on a monthly basis, and really ensure that we're providing true value to them on a regular and as I said, ongoing perspective. So they're the three pillars to our business. It's been a great ride over the last year and a half. I think we've picked an amazing partner and do work with an amazing partner in Facebook. And we've got a very long list of customers that would love to share their story at some point with anyone who's interested in hearing it. Great.
Well, it's been an interesting insight there, and all the best with it. And Daragh, thanks for your time. Daragh, thanks for giving us an insight into Workplace and Enablo. If you'd like to find out more, follow the links that are after this broadcast, and follow us and Daragh on all the social media platforms. Daragh, again, thanks for your time today. It's been a really interesting discussion, and all the best for the future.
Excellent. Thank you.